Well, good afternoon. Right here, I am studying Python. Right now, we're working on tests. Right now, let's go to name. Let's just go to name. I don't know how to delete files yet, but learning. Oopsies. I mean to break it. I wonder what the lighting is like. It's bad. Close it. Oh, that's way worse. It's pretty dark. Yeah. Maybe the lighting. Anyways, let's get right into it. Right now, I am learning how to do this. Look, so I'm going to use these. All right, I'm going to do this one. I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to delete this. Right. So now I'm going to practice how to use assert. Statement. Assert is a statement. Hashtag. That's it. Okay. So look. All right. So def. We're going to do first underscore name. Right. You need a little bit curate. Okay. Print. Actually, no. Let's just go with the basic. Hello. Right. And then we're gonna add something here. Name equals stranger. Right. So now it's gonna say print hello. We're gonna do F like this. Return F hello. Right. I'm gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do name. Right. Now if we do hello blank. What if we do hello David? Wait, no. This is wrong. No, we gotta do this. Look. Name equals input. Shit, someone gun. Input. Look, we do fudge. Print. Hello, right? And we're just gonna. I forgot how to do this. I just need practice. Just need to practice. Hello, stranger. Right? Because why? Because this is blank. But if I do Byron, Python first dot py. Hello, Byron. Right? Okay. So look. So now let's say hello, Byron. Okay. So now, what does he want me to do? All right, we're gonna do second import. We're gonna import no from import from first import hello. We're gonna do this. Right, and we're going to do def test underscore hello, right? Then we're going to do assert hello Byron equals capital hello David. Right? So now we have to execute test underscore hello. Right, so now Python second dot py error. Right, but if we change this to Byron Python second dot py, again error. What are you talking about? Look. First dot py. Hello. Hello. There's gonna be a hello stranger. Hello Byron. Hello stranger. If we do Python second dot py. Second. Hold on. Assert. Line 5. Second dot py. Hello Byron. Assertion error. Oh. Oopsies. Not just kidding. Hello Byron. First. Hello Byron. Hello, Byron. No, I'm just kidding. Return. 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 I gotta go to the freaking gym. Nick is trying to get at me. Okay, what's the point of this? What is the point of this?
Arguments. Let's assert that calling hello with nothing in those parentheses similarly equals hello, comma, but world, the default value. Let me now go ahead and run PyTest of test hello.py, and that too passes entirely. But there too, suppose that I had made some mistakes, suppose that there were a bug in my code, it might not be best practice to combine multiple tests in this one function, so let's make it more clear what might pass or fail. Let's call the first function test the default to this function, and let's only include this first line of code. And then let's go ahead and define another function like test argument to test this other line of code here. So now I have two different tests, each of which is testing something a little fundamentally different. So now when I run my code, it's still not broken. If I run PyTest of test hello.py, enter, I've now passed two tests. And that's just as good as before. But if I did have a bug, having two tests instead of one would indeed give me perhaps a bit more of a hint as to what's wrong. Questions now on this testing of return values when these return values are now strings instead of integers, and why we've done this.
So my question is about function inside the function. Can we test that too? For recursion, we have in C.
If you have a recursive function, which we've not discussed in this class, yes, you can absolutely test those too by simply calling them exactly in this way. Recursion does not affect this process. All right, how about one more question here on unit test before we look at one final example?
When testing our arguments like can we use something like a loops or inside of assert or for the values?
Absolutely. You can absolutely use a loop to test multiple values. In this case, for instance, I could do something like this. I could say for name in the following list of Hermione, say Harry, and Ron, I could then within this loop assert that hello of that given name equals, say, the format string of hello, comma, name, and then run all of these here at once by running, again, PyTest of test_hello.py. It's still going to be just one test within that function, but if there's something interesting about those several strings that makes it compelling to test all of them, you can absolutely automate the tests in that way. With that said, each of your tests should ideally be pretty simple and pretty small. Why? Because you don't want to write so much code, so much complicated code that your tests might be flawed. What we don't want to have to do is write tests for our tests and tests for our tests for our tests, because it would never end. So keeping tests nice and simple is really the goal, so that a reasonable human, yourself included, can eyeball them and just claim, yeah, that is correct. We don't need tests for our tests.
Before I understood what nuclear truly meant, before I could use my mind to move a submarine, I had to be born for it.
Hey Meta, what's thermodynamics?
Thermodynamics is the study of energy and heat transfer.
Just get good, bro. Just get good. I game like I have plus 50 toughness, but really, I'm plus 100 afraid.
Hey, life can be scary, but State Farm supports you.
I feel plus 250 with me.
The most sacred thing in life isn't the path. It's the freedom to choose it. Freedom is the roar of one man's engine and the silence of another's. So choose, but choose wisely. Choose what makes you happy. My friends, my family, my work make me happy. This Jeep makes me happy, even though my name is Bolt.
I never look at the other side. That's great.
All right, how about one other feature? Suppose that we don't have just one test, but many different tests instead, and we want to start to organize those tests into multiple files and even a folder. Well, PyTest and other frameworks support that paradigm as well. In fact, let me go ahead and test hello.py using a folder of tests with technically just one test, but it'll be representative of having even more in that folder. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder called tests using makedir at my command line, and then within that file, within that folder, I'm going to go ahead and create a file called test_hello.py. Within this file, meanwhile, I'm going to test the same things. I'm going to go ahead and from hello, import hello. And I'm going to go ahead and define a function like test default that simply tests the scenario where hello with no arguments returns hello, comma world. And I'm going to have that other function where I test that an argument is passed. And in this case, I'll choose an argument like asserting that hello, quote unquote, David equals indeed hello, comma, not world, but David. So in this case, I've just recreated the same test as earlier, but they're in a file now in a folder called test. Well, PyTest allows me to run these here too, but to do so, I actually need to create one other file. Within my test directory, I need to create a file called __init__.py, which has the effect, even if this file is empty, of telling Python to treat that folder as not just a module, but a package, so to speak. A package is a Python module or multiple modules that are organized inside of a folder. And this file, __init__py, is just a visual indicator to Python that indeed it should treat that folder as a package. If I had more code in this folder, I could do even more things with this file. But for now, it's just a clue that it's indeed meant to be a package and not just a module or file alone. What I can now do in closing is run PyTest, not even on that specific file, but on a whole folder of tests. So if I run PyTest of test, where the test is the name of that folder, PyTest will automatically search through that folder looking for all possible tests. Granted, there's just those two in this one file, but when I run it now with enter, I'll still pass those tests. I'll still get 100%, and I now have a mechanism ultimately for testing my own code. So whether you're writing functions that return integers or something else, functions that have side effects that could be rewritten as functions that return values, you now have a mechanism to not just wait for someone like us to test your code, and not just test your code manually again and again, which might get tedious and you might make mistakes by not including some possible inputs. We now have an automated mechanism for testing one's own code that's going to be even more powerful when you start collaborating with others, so that you can write tests that ensure that if they make a change to the same code, they haven't broken the code that you've written. All right, that's it for this week. We'll see you next time.
Yes, sir. That's the end for this week. You feel me? That is it. New lesson. End stream. End.